I've been covering politics for over a decade, and I want to be really clear about something. The left is working. They're calling, they're protesting, and they're in the streets marching. And that work is real and it matters. What I want to talk about today is one specific category of work that I think we're underestimating in this fight back against Trump. One that the right has been using for over 40 years, by the way, and pretty much no one on the left is looking at it as a serious way to fight back. It's delay, and doing it is going to actually take a lot of work. But right now, we're leaving it on the table. I'm Katelyn Burns. I'm a former Capitol Hill reporter, and I cover news and politics at burnsnotice.com. It's a newsletter. You should go subscribe. But first, delay. There are only 967 days left in the Trump term. That's not 967 days to survive. That's 967 days to just gum up the works. Jump on the train tracks, delay by any means possible. We need to exhaust them before anything becomes permanent. Trump's power has a hard constitutional deadline, and he knows it, which is why he's moving so fast. Now, I know a lot of you might be out there worrying about a potential Trump third term. I get that fear, but a lot of things have to happen to get to that point, and I think that would be the end of the constitutional republic. I don't think John Roberts wants to be the last Supreme Court justice in history. So over those 967 days, Trump and his administration are going to be throwing everything in the kitchen sink at us. They're going to want to get as many policy priorities passed into as much permanent law as possible. So the question isn't how do we endure this? It's how do we make sure as little as possible becomes permanent going forward? This is the time of year that I can't tell if I'm sick or if I have allergies. One thing to keep in mind here is that not all Trump damage is equal. Executive orders and agency rules can be reversed by the next Democratic president. So anything that Trump is doing now can essentially be stopped the next time a Democrat gets into office, or any legal cases that the Department of Justice is arguing can be dropped by the next administration. But on the other hand, legislation is permanent. You need a law to repeal it, or you need the courts to throw out whatever laws get passed now. And so our job over the next 2.5 years is to make sure that the legislative permanence of Trump's policies is as small as possible. We need to force them into doing executive action after executive action. Those could be challenged more effectively in the courts. They need to follow administrative procedure law. There are still courts out there that care about this stuff, and we could just gum it up until it's time for Trump to leave office. Every day that a Trump policy is stuck in the courts is another day that it's not embedded in US law. You know, it's funny, the model for what I'm proposing here actually is one that a lot of you will be familiar with if you were around during the Obama era. This is what Mitch McConnell essentially did to Democrats back when Obama was elected. He just got in there and he put a stop to everything. I mean, they slowed everything to a crawl. They refused to vote on judges. They held up a Supreme Court nomination for over a year until after the next election. That's partly how they got Neil Gorsuch on the court in Trump's first term. And Democrats can borrow from this. They can challenge every administrative action in court. We can be calling our congresspeople and asking them to vote against every single thing that Republicans are trying to do, vote against their judges, everything, put everything to a stop. This is the part that I wish Democrats would get. You know, I had Brad Lander, who's running for Congress, on my podcast last year, and there was one line that keeps staying with me. He said, "We need fighters, not folders." The Democratic Party needs to fight, and the most effective way they can do that right now is by delaying. I know it's a little uncomfortable to propose using the McConnell strategy. Mitch McConnell, Turtle Boy, he's like, I'm uncomfortable just saying this. But the reality is they kind of won the Obama era with it. And now this is how we can finish out the Trump era. So what does pushing back actually look like for us, like normies? What it isn't is waiting, letting Trump roll over the rest of us. It isn't doom scrolling on social media and yelling at the top of your lungs into the blue sky void. Okay. Filing lawsuits. It's protesting on Capitol Hill. It's calling your congressperson. In the States, it's paying attention and actually helping the local campaigners in your local races win office. Any state attorney general who files a challenge to a Trump policy is doing the work. They're running active delay. Those positions matter. Check to see if you have an attorney general race in your state and get after it. I hate to say it, but it's the career bureaucrats who are one of our best friends right now. And I think that's part of the reason why Elon Musk's Doge ran so wild through the federal government. They were trying to actively purge people who would stand in their way and slow things down for the next administration. Those people are more concerned with making sure the bureaucracy is running fairly and not fast. And Republicans need fast because they have a short window and it's closing. We have to talk about the midterms also, because it looks like, as of right now, depending on who you look at, Democrats are poised to sweep back into Congress, at least in the House. I think the Senate is an uphill battle. I'm not an election prognosticator, but winning the House would be enough. That would slow down any bills that Congress are trying to pass. And regardless, the filibuster in the Senate means that nothing's going to pass there either. That's why we're stuck in this situation in the first place. Everything has to go through the executive branch because Congress does nothing. So you have basically two branches of government now. You have the executive branch, and then you have the judges that say what's fair and what's not. But again, none of this is passive. It's coordinated. It's strategy. It requires you to show up at hearings and yell. That is where some of your energy should be going right now. The hearings nobody is covering is where you should be right now. America right now is an incredibly dangerous place for so many people. There's trans people like me. There's immigrants. Anyone standing in the path of this administration is a potential target. So we can't afford a strictly strategic view. I totally get that. The folks that showed up for immigrants in Minneapolis, they were doing the work too. They slowed ICE down to a crawl. They made every potential encounter with an immigrant maximally painful. And then ICE pretended to leave town. But again, the real risk isn't Trump now. It's that Trump will last for another 20 years. Yes, there's concern about him potentially running in 2028. I want you to put that aside just for now. But the 2028 election is still key. Democrats have shown over their history that they are perfectly capable of snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. And they could do it again. And if another Republican gets back into office, whether it's Trump or not, that's another 4 or 8 years of slow progress for them. It's a lot harder to delay over 10 years than it is over 2.5. So doing the work now to win the 2028 election is vital. I've seen Democrats lose so many winnable elections that I can't just sit here and pretend that running out the clock is the only viable strategy. We need to be out there, knocking on doors, getting people to vote. That infrastructure starts now. People should be not only delaying what Trump is doing now, but they should be organizing for the next election. Candidates should be forming their campaign strategies now, getting the key people in place and start their organizing. But it's not just presidential candidates. It's local candidates. It's state legislatures. It's attorney generals. Those are the offices that make delay work at large scales. But the version of this that doesn't work is everybody burning out now and not having any effort left over for those little races that come up the works, the state treasurer races. So I want you to find the boring procedural fight that you can do right now in your state and form a plan and execute it. Fund it, staff it, show up for it. It's not going to go viral, but it'll work. The work that runs out the clock right now is not glamorous. It's lawyers filing motions in the middle of the night, a precinct captain knocking on doors in 2027, a senator forcing a procedural vote that nobody will tweet about. All of it matters. This is one more tool. Let's use it. TikTok, Trump is on the clock. The people who understand that time is a weapon are the ones doing the work now. Go be one of them. I wrote about this in full on my newsletter, Burns Notice. It's at burnsnotice.com. Go subscribe for more weekly politics thoughts.